Hey guys, this is your inspirational nurse underscore RN Tierra coming to you live with another great video. Hello, all my family, my YouTube cousins from another mother. This is your girl Tierra. This is your inspirational RN coming to you live with another great video. Hello everybody, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Today's video is going to be super special and it is titled My Role as Assistant Director of Nursing and Salary. So I wanted to spill the tea on my role as Assistant Director of Nursing because that was something that I have done, and I do not like sharing anything that I haven't done yet or had experience. I feel like it doesn't honor anything, or I'm not being transparent. So on this channel today, we're going to talk about my role as an Assistant Director of Nursing. I'm going to give you all the juice on my salary and my outcome. So for those who do not know, I was your LPN back in the day, medical assistant, volunteer, went from RN to recently, as of July 24th, a graduate of my bachelor's science of nursing degree. Yes, I got my BSN. I am so exhausted. So forgive me, y'all, for the last couple of weeks if I've been looking a mess or I have not been my energetic self because I have been working my tail off behind the scenes. So thank you for those who congratulated me on that accomplishment. And so let's get straight into the video. So what is ADON? So ADON stands for Assistant Director of Nursing. And the only ones who can fulfill this role are registered nurses that have a bachelor's degree, or there's facilities where you do not require to have a bachelor's degree depending on the locations of the facility. Now, y'all, I seen this job come up on Indeed, and I used to work for the company a long time ago as an LPN on night shift, and I had okay experience with the company. I did like some things about it, and there were some things I didn't like about it. And my husband wasn't pushing me to go into management because y'all already know how I am about compliance and safety. And so I was still nervous about taking that leap because I had to believe in myself that I can be a really good manager. And I act like one, but still to fulfill the role is totally different. So guys, when I originally saw the job, they were looking for a unit manager. And so I was okay with just being a unit manager starting because I wanted manager experience. Now, you guys know when working in big hospitals or organizations, sometimes getting to these positions are very hard to get into because you have your nurse politics, you have favoritism, and a whole bunch of challenges that arise. So even though you're an excellent nurse and you really might be a really good manager in the future, there's still so many things that could try to prevent you or delay you from what God has for you. But just remember, what God promises you or what God tells you you are. So you just got to believe God, and He is going to do it in a non-traditional way. So guys, I came on, did my interview, and at that time, I was still finishing up my bachelor's degree. I was in my last class at that time, and I'll tell you guys what happened with that. And I applied, did the interview, and they were so impressed that they offered me a assistant director of nursing job. At the time, I wasn't sure about taking the position because I literally had my mental state set on just being a unit manager. I was excited just getting the role, getting accepted into that role. So I kind of had to renegotiate my salary, because then I was just kind of like, okay, now you're adding 2 jobs. So now I'm going to be ADON and a unit manager. So I wasn't quite sure how that would work out. Now, we did have a lot of discussions. Y'all know how your girl is. I do lay everything on the table. I'm very transparent. I said, look, I am new into management. I don't know how this is going to influence my career. Either you want me to be a unit manager or you want me to be an ADON, but I know myself that I learn better and I do better when I'm focusing on just that one main big job, which is either your unit manager or your ADON. And those are still really important roles in the facility, whether you're in a nursing home setting, assisted living, whatever. Those are really, really big, important roles in the facility. I was the second highest ranking RN in the entire building. I was in a nursing home, so we had lots of LPNs, CNAs, and we even hired temporarily CNAs, which I didn't even know was a thing. But 99% of my staff were all unlicensed. And there was so many things that was coming up that I didn't even know. So let's just talk about my role in descriptions of being an ADON. So an ADON assists the DON and oversees the entire nursing operation. That means day-to-day operations with medication orders, med passes, auditing charts, auditing all the medications in the carts, and training, educating, in services, policies and procedures. Oh my God, so much stuff, protocols and everything. Hiring, firing, interviewing. I have done so many things for both roles. What I quickly realized was that doing both wasn't satisfying, because unit manager, you are focusing on just your unit and managing your nurses on that unit. But then now I'm the ADON as well. So now I'm overseeing the entire building underneath the direction of the DON. So it was really, really, really starting to, for me, I started to voice concerns as soon as I saw that, like, this is not helping. Maybe we need to hire an actual unit manager and have me just do the ADON. Now, they were a little nervous giving me the administrator. The administrator was a little feeling some kind of way about giving me the ADON role, because she said that people usually get into the role and then their heads get big and, they're not being really nice to the staff or whatever. Your ego, your pride takes over when you're in these big positions. Me, I wasn't that way. I just know myself and how I learn and how I would like to grow in this company. And I voiced my concerns from the beginning. It's nothing wrong with when you're going into a management position to be that way, because usually when you're RN in a nursing home, that means you can do everything, and they will throw everything at you, every type of work at you. I had several jobs, guys, in this building. So that's why I said I had to, in the beginning, they were really quick with trying to get me to pick numbers for my salary. So I really didn't have time to sit down and be like, okay, what is really fair? They kind of was just pressuring me. And I was like, no, I think to start, and that was just my starting, this can be a salary to start. That doesn't mean it's not going to change, because I'm sure I had that feeling. Y'all know I travel all around the place, that this was going to be a type of job that just add to you, but not meaning adding different roles to you and titles, but not really appreciating the value that what a nurse brings to a team. So guys, I was the youngest manager on the team. My DON and myself we had a lot of similarities. She was really, really cool, really sweet, laid back. And I was, an extrovert, totally out there, like, hey, let's go. And questioning things. Before I was even hired, I seen things that was red flags for me. So now going into a management position is very crucial to point out things that may be important to you and things that might influence how your career can go as being an ADON. Now, most companies like to target people that have no experience in those positions, or new nurses, because they know that maybe you just want to impress the team. So you're going to work extra hard, extra long hours. But mind you guys, I was on a salary for the first time. I did not have an hourly rate. And I was like really having a hard time with not being hourly, because of the amount of hours I knew that I would have to spend to be able to do my job and be a unit manager of 2 units, guys. So I wasn't just a unit manager for 1 unit. I had unit manager for the Marine unit and the skilled nursing unit. For those who work long-term care, know that skilled nursing unit means that you get all the admissions, you get all the new patients, and you have lots of admissions and discharges, because those patients come from the hospital setting. So that's like your star unit. You want your skilled nursing unit to be on point, your labs to be done appropriately, your medications to be done appropriately, things to be done right, because that is your star of the building. And then I had the memory unit. So I had all my dementia patients. On top of that, I was the ADON. Come on now. I know y'all starting to feel what I was feeling. Now the expectations put on me was for me to work Monday through Friday, office hours that was advertised. But once I got to the job, I quickly realized that being in these roles, I have been in the building 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. Then I realized quickly that I am on call, and if a nurse calls out, I have to pull the nurses. Like if the nurse was called out from night shift, I had to work that shift, day shift, night shift. And I quickly realized that the DON was in the building so much. I really seen her go home like ever, y'all. She was like always in the building, holidays, weekends, 7 days a week. And I know for myself, after I worked the first 7 days a week, that's not for me. And it's okay again, to say when things are not for you. Sometimes you're going to get into a position. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you're not going to be a good manager. That just means that this might not be the place or the setting for you to be in as a manager. You probably need to be somewhere more structured versus a place like this that you just come in and you just, maybe that day you're doing all interviews, the next day you're training somebody, next day, you need more structure. Then I probably would need to go into and make like a hospital setting or somewhere else. Now that I have my bachelor's degree. So I quickly realized things, and I quickly brought it to my team, because there was so many things that was going wrong in this building, y'all, that I was just like, okay, God, you brought me here for a reason, so I'm going to do my best. And I did, y'all. I made so many changes. To the point when I first started, my staff was very respectful. All my nurses, they were they were just so excited just to have a young person in the building, with energy. Like, y'all, first thing I did was award all my housekeepers, because first of all, the building didn't even smell like a nursing home. It smelled like a hotel. It smelled so good. Like, I'm talking about all the good stuff, y'all. I'm talking about Fabuloso, bleach, all the good. Them housekeepers were working, and God let it on my heart for me to award them. And I didn't even know how many housekeepers we had at the time, because I was still new. And I wore every last one of them. It was 7 of them. God kept telling me it was 7 of them, and it was exactly 7 of them. I found some old certificates and awards in a drawer. And, God let it on my heart, and they cried, and I was crying. It just felt like it was something I was supposed to do. Maybe it was something that was well overdue. When you're a manager, you want to make sure that you appreciate everybody, whether they're cooks, housekeepers, LPNC, it does not matter, because everybody's there for one mission. That's how it's supposed to be. So then also I wanted to do something for the employees right away. God let it on my heart to do something nice, big old lunch, give out shirts. And the corporation turned it down. Yes, I was working for a corporation. They turned down my budget for my shirts for my team. And I'm like, why? Like, these nurses out here working all these hours, they always short. People working double and triple hours, and then they want us to get rid of travel nursing. The travel nurses we had in the building, it was so many challenges. All our staff all those CNAs, 99% of them was untrained. I was shocked. I was like, first of all, now y'all know, if state walk in here, this is a no-no. This can't happen. We can't have people, and I was so adamant trying to get them trained. And there was always, anytime you're in positions like this, you're always going to have somebody that is envy. There's a lot of jealousy that started to build up, because the team took to me so quickly. I changed so many things. God allowed me to see and change quickly that was going down. And I loved it. I love all my dementia patients. We danced to Motown. We had a ball. I would pull all the snacks out. We have a good time. You hear me? Nobody was pacing. Nobody was fighting, cursing. We just had a glorious time. I played all my spiritual music, everything up in there. Yes, because God comes with me everywhere. And we had a good time. But just, guys, their expectations was you as a ADON is to, every time there's a new person coming to your building, a new nurse or a new somebody, you have to first interview them, get their paperwork, work with HR. You'll do all the I did all the hand washing, PPE demonstration and training for all our new hires. I had to do their PPD step 1 and 2, get them on board, make sure I'm following through with their training. Because when I was here, y'all, people were just getting hired and thrown on the floor. And one thing I don't like is people being hired and thrown on the floor. I think it is a disrespect to the patients, because we have a code that we need to stick by. And that's not to put patients at risk. And you put patients at risk when you have employees come into your building that you don't even train. Like, come on, would you do that to your mama and your father? You would not have anybody off the street just coming in and train these people. So I was in charge of onboarding all new hires. I was also in charge of hiring, firing, which is not always easy to do. There's a lot of conflict that might arise, so you also have to deal with conflict that might come up between 2 employees. I looked at a lot of policies that haven't even been revised in years, that I was like, this needs to be revised. So it's much clearer to our type of employees now, the new generation. So also you have to be part of lots of meetings. I'm talking about meetings from the time you walk in to the end of the day. There's meetings throughout the whole day. And that's just to keep the team all on one page and one common goal. And maybe you're like, hey, I'm trying to work on this, but it's not happening. Can somebody help me? So we have lots and lots of meetings. And it's still also my role as an ADON is to be an infection control nurse, which I had to take the CDC test 2 times because the first time I didn't pass, the second time I passed. But the infection control is a really big, like a whole bunch of modules you have to take, and you take a really big exam at the end, and then your certificate is good, I think, for 2 years. So I had to get that because as an ADON, you are responsible for surveillancing all new infection or infection that already exists and follow through with their antibiotics and make sure that it has an end date and make sure that the patient is taking their full treatment. Because as you know, some patients do not. They're like, I feel better, and then they stop taking it. Also, you need to audit all charts. You need to audit all nursing carts, the medications, make sure they're signing the narcotic books, make sure, because I always found errors in the narcotic books on maybe they signed the wrong number and it's showing that it has less narcotics or something. So always want to check behind your staff because, again, your staff is working, they're tired. Mistakes happen. So your job is to go in and correct the mistakes and teach. I've done so many in-services. That's another role as your ADON is to in-service everybody. And I in-service everybody and the way I did it was I pulled all the existing policies, educate everybody on the policies and let them review for themselves, then in-service them because at least they reviewed their policy, saw it for themselves. Because how many places you don't work and nobody ever bought you the policies? I mean, they be like, yeah, it's in that book over there. I have worked, now that I'm laughing about it, I have been in so many places, y'all, that the policy book is hiding somewhere. That should be your start of your unit. That policy book is the Bible to that unit. Like, how it's supposed to be done. Because you notice, like, when you're trying to do something the right way, you ask everybody around and nobody has the answers. They be like, I don't know what they do. I don't know the policy. That is a no-no. Every employee I feel like should have the right to review the policy. And I made sure I took the time out and gave. So now when the staff did something wrong, I can hold them responsible because I know that they saw the policy and I know I in-serviced them on it. We also had a change in our software with charting. So we all had to learn it and then train everybody. So lots and lots of training. Nurses, especially new CNAs, lots of training on proper care, following through with things that maybe employees needed help with, making sure their stuff was getting signed off for the new employees, and bringing different ideas to how to keep staff, how to retain your staff. And that is always going to be a challenge with any job you have is retention. But you have to discuss it with the team, like why you think you guys are losing staff for nurses, and come up with good ideas to keep them interested. So I actually had to write up a letter, a professional letter, and it just has a plan on how to retain the staff. And the guy that we had at the time that was administrator, he loved it. He was like, you came up with this overnight? I came up with it, wrote a proposal. Actually, that's what it's called. I wrote a proposal up. Never wrote a proposal before, but I wrote a proposal up with a plan on how to retain the staff. And my goal, always have a realistic goal. Because y'all remember y'all SMART goals now, right? When y'all in school. I know when y'all getting your bachelor's, they go over it again. I know for our school, we went over SMART goals. I used my SMART goals and I just went over, make sure I had a timeline of how I wanted to retain them. And I just used that as my foundation when I was writing my proposal. So thanks nursing school, I guess, right? I learned something. So you would write proposals. You would discuss budget. Now, budget is always going to be tricky because the corporations and stuff you work for, as you know, how healthcare is, people do not care. They give you the smallest budget and want you to work miracles with just a little bit of money. And let me tell you, I salute all my DONs and ADONs and unit managers out there that is working with small budgets and trying to run a whole building. Like, I think a lot of the companies are not realistic with care, like how much stuff costs, and just they want to retain and do things and want everything to work, but with a little bit of money. Like how you plan on, how you tell me how you want me to do this miracle, because it's not possible when you're working with a little bit of budget. But just know these are some of the challenges that do come up when you are managing. It does influence how you manage, because sometimes you may have really good ideas on what you want to do for the team, but your budget is very small, or you want to hire some help, but then maybe your budget doesn't have it in there for you to hire new help, or maybe somebody want to raise and then you can't because your budget doesn't fit that plan. But again, you're not retaining your staff, so you're really not meeting any goals. And I didn't see this facility meeting any of their goals. It had a lot of potential. The staff was really happy to have me. I was really happy to be part of them. Finally get my hands on with training and teaching. Y'all know that's what I love to do, and compliance, safety, and I made it fun. Like, and when I worked the floor, which I was working the floor a whole lot, that's when it started to become another problem. So as an ADO, when it is your job as well, since you are a nurse, to work the floor, but you shouldn't be working the floor several days a week. Now, if you know you're working the floor 7 days a week, then sometimes what they're doing is they're hiring people, young nurses, as managers so that they can work the floor. But really, they trying to trick you on, yeah, we hired you for management so you can have the title, but you're really not using the title. Who they think I am? Because I'm a city, I'm smart as whip. I pay attention. So pay attention, guys. Don't get so locked up in these titles that you like, oh yeah, I'm doing this now, I'm this now. But you're really not living the true life as an ADO and all. You're really not doing those things. And I wasn't 100% doing everything in my role. Because they kept telling me to wait, state will come, and then they'll train me on this and that. And I was like, no, I'm not waiting. Because when I sign up for a job, I want my full responsibility. That's the only way I'm going to learn how to do this job efficiently. You guys want me to do a job, but you're not allowing me to grow. Like, how am I supposed to grow here? You tell me. And when I start to challenge them, of course, when you work in a smaller building like this and it's not a big old hospital, it's like being in a small town. Everybody knows what's going on. So, like, every argument, every disagreement, people know, they talk, staff talks, and, they make judgment, or, and a lot of people was really on my side. They was like, we really think you could run this whole place. And I probably could run the whole place, but that's not my intentions. That's not what I wanted. I did want a team that was willing to support what I was doing and value, not just use me and be like, oh, because she do everything, she good, she don't care. No, I'm mine, because I have a family. I have to have a balance in my life. I like a balance of still traveling, still being with my family. Family time is very important to me, and be able to still come home, not be at a job 7 days a week and not see my family. When I start slipping and realizing that I haven't even put dinner out the night before, or I haven't went food shopping, my kids is like, Mom, what you been doing? I felt so guilty, because that's not something that I do. That's not a part of me. So that I know I was starting to change, because this job was changing me, and to somebody I don't know, because that's not something I would do. So be really mindful when you sign up for these jobs. Make sure you speak up. And no job is perfect. No job, but certain things is a big red flag. And sometimes I think as nurses, either we go with the bad and we like, hey, everybody's doing that, I guess it's all right, until something happens. Or you can be that eyeball that nobody is agreeing with, that you stick out like a sore thumb because you disagree with everybody. It's okay to disagree to agree. Okay? Anytime it comes, I told y'all, with compliance and safety, I'm big, big, big on it. I was like, okay, what happened? Because I know COVID happened, but what are we doing to fix it? What are we doing? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? I started to challenge the team, and I think coming in as a young, energetic manager and challenging the team to be better. There's a lot of people that on the team I was the youngest. Everybody was like 50, 60, 40. Nobody wanted to change. Everybody was just kind of like, yeah, that sounds good, but this is how we've been doing it. And I'm like, this is how you've been doing it, but then you have frustrations and challenges because you choose not to change. Sometimes change is hard, but sometimes change is really good, because it sets you up for success. Because the trends of nursing is always changing, and you want to retain your staff, right? That's your thing when you work in these positions as a manager, is to inspire your staff. Make them want to work with you. Me, I always see my staff every morning, and I can tell you, I put my hands on the Bible every morning when I come in that building. First thing I do is put my stuff down, go see my staff, especially my night shift, my day shift people, and I talk to them. Hey, how was your shift? What is going on? They be like, hey, we ran out of ink. We can't print the paperwork. Hey, this happened. And I address it right away. I don't wait to the end of the day. No. So I did a lot of things differently, because I know, being that floor nurse, the things that I want from my manager. And I talk to them. Sometimes we talk about personal things. Sometimes we talk about whatever, their frustrations in that moment. And sometimes I still loved them, but then I still held them accountable and say, look, this is what, as nurses, this is our responsibility. And inspire them to want to keep doing a good job. Because a lot of them was doing a good job. And they was overdoing their job, working thousands of hours. And I'm like, who's home? One person got mad at me because I said, who's home with your kids? Because I know if you here worrying about getting all this overtime. This was the only job that I worked that was given so much bonuses for overtime. It was insane. CNAs making more than the nurses. That's how much a bonus is. I'm like, who set this up in place? You need to take care of your nurses too, because your nurses is the one that does the nursing. Like I said, there was a lot of things for me. And I kept hearing guys, in the midst of all this happening, I'm trying to finish my last class. Somehow, because I was working so much, my project didn't go right, and I didn't pass my last class, or something was going on. My school was literally about to kick me out of my program because they kept saying, hey, guess what? You're working too much. 7 days a week. What is your plan? Like, how you going to finish this class? What is your plan? Because we're not going to let you do this last class again if you don't have. And I'm like, oh my God, why is always something? Every time I get started, get happy, there's always something. And I'm like, God, what is going on? But I heard God tell me, step down. Yeah, and I was fighting it because I'm like, I like it. I like being a manager. But God was like, step, I got something. And he gave me, I literally woke up in the middle of this, in my sleep, and I was in the house with patients. And I'm like, what are y'all doing in my house? This is strange. So I'm like, oh my God, God want me to start a business. Wow. So like ever since then, I've been on a mission. Like I stepped down, and because I was obedient, like I said, sometimes doing what God tell you to do is very hard. Stepping down from something you would love to do was so hard sometimes to let go, but God is like, get out of there. We had a new administrator that came in that wasn't doing things of God up in there, and it was getting worse. And I heard God say, get out. Get out. Because at first I was telling myself, why y'all don't put me on the clock hourly? I'm here 12 hours a day. You know how many hours that is? Y'all can never afford me hourly. Oh, I budget. Oh, we can't do that. I budget. I heard God say, run. I literally wrote a professional 2 weeks. Now, anytime I get out of a job, I always do it professionally. I never just be like, all right, peace out. And she was so mad with me, the administrator. I want 30 days. I want you to give us 30. I don't have to give you 30 days. It's nothing in my file that I signed because I read everything. It wasn't nothing in there that I can give you 30 days. No, thank you. I'm giving you 2 weeks. She didn't want that. She wanted me to leave, pack my office up quietly. I heard God say, run. And you know what's so funny? As I'm packing my office up, I have my car parked in front of the building. I'm trying to leave so my staff don't know what's going on. I have my gospel music playing, because my car's in the front. And I looked over. I see this patient sitting in the wheelchair, no lie. And she's looking up in the sky, and she's like reaching, and she's like, yes, yes, thank you, yes, yes. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, who's she talking to? And she just, yes, yes, oh my God, yes, God, yes. And she did. And I'm like, I felt God's presence. I was like, oh my God, thank you, Lord. I just felt God's presence. I wanted to cry. I said, God, why is always me going and getting in these situations? Like, I feel like sometimes it's only me. I know y'all be going through, but sometimes I feel like it's me. And I said, God, oh my God, thank you for your presence. I heard God say, get out. Get out of there. And I packed up so fast and I got out of there and I didn't look back. That same day my business was born. I said, God, thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. I said, thank you. And ever since then, I've been home. And since I was home, God allowed me to get back into school. And I finished and I graduated with my bachelor's degree. I said, Lord, thank you, Jesus. So there's some things that God is telling y'all to do, and y'all got to be obedient. I know sometimes it's hard to let go, but you got to let it go. But my role there, I had so many hats in that building. I was doing everything. I was taking the patients to the dining room, making sure they ate. I had activities go in my dementia, in my locker unit, so that their own patients can have some type of stimulation, socialization, because all they doing was fighting each other and cursing each other out because there was no activity. There was nothing going on, nothing motivating them. I danced with them. I educated staff, trained staff, paperwork up to my butt. I haven't even sat in my office long enough to be in there. It was nice. I hooked it up, but I was always in the hallway running around, training new hires, hiring people, firing people. Didn't work on the floor. Then I did in-services on a lot of things. If a patient escaped, what should you do? Things like that, because the people need to know. All these good things. I learned so much in such a little time. I spent a couple of months there, and God pulled me out. And I was just like, this time it was hard because I had staff that was counting on me, and I felt like that. But they knew. I said, if I'm not sad about leaving, don't you be sad about me leaving. But they knew what they had in that building was something special. God's spirit is always something special. And, you know, I grew as a nurse. I learned about policy and procedures. I know what goes on behind the scenes as a manager. It is not easy being a manager. Managers work 2 times harder. So when you see your manager, respect what they're saying, hear what they're saying. Some managers ain't about, they don't care about none of that. They don't care about you. You could tell the ones that don't care. But the ones that care, the ones that stay late to make sure y'all got what y'all need for Nurses Week, making sure if she promised you something, she working on it. Y'all don't know these people in the building all the time. Monday through Friday, then got to stay, all these meetings. Then got to turn around and try to have a life outside of being a manager. It is tough. Because most jobs are short. So that means as a manager, that manager is working several other types of jobs as a manager, plus working the floor. Because managers are on call also, on top of nurses calling out. So my nurses was calling out quite often when I first started. So now I'm pulling a couple of hours during the week on top of my Monday through Friday. So now I'm working on the weekends, plus I'm on call every month. So can you do the math for how many hours I'm spending in the building? So when I say these managers is working their tails off, it's a lot to be a manager. You got to make those tough decisions. You got to try to come with your team, figure out what's going on with your building. Then your building falling apart, things not working, staff quitting. Like, it's so many challenges to being a manager. So shout out to all my managers out there, all my future managers. God said there's some future managers on this channel. So my future managers, it is not easy. My tip is to find some type of structure or organization that you believe in that is actually doing what they said they're going to do. And which is hard to find because healthcare is changing. The quality has changed. So be prepared if you want to be manager and work a lot of hours. You know what I mean? Some work holidays, and you call them because maybe your staff did something or something going on your unit or something is just going on that you got to be there when you're not even supposed to be there. So shout out to all my managers. So I know what goes on behind the scenes. So hopefully this video helped. But I had several jobs, and my salary, guys, I was only making $90,000 salary, no overtime. I got a small, when I say small budget, they claim it came out some other type of budget, and that's how I was getting my bonus. But I'm like, I'm working in this building 7 days a week. No. So sometimes people get excited over a little bit of money. They like, oh, I get a little bit of a bonus. I'm good. Me, I know my worth. And I'm like, no, this is not what I signed up for. And if you want me to do X, Y, and Z, put me on the clock hourly. Well, at least I can get some overtime. But they didn't want to do that. They try to trick you up with some salary. Then you're trying to think, well, what is a salary? Because that means your salary is capped. Once you say yes to your salary, it is capped. It's no going back and say, no, I think I need 10,000 more. You best to know. And if you need help finding out what the salary is supposed to be in your area and as a manager, you need to go online and you Google your average salary for your job and then and then increase it based off your experience and what you might need in your household. Because going from hourly to salary, it was very tricky for me to try to negotiate it, and something that because both parties have to agree on your salary, your HR and you have to agree on your salary. Another red flag was when they was trying to negotiate my salary, everybody was in the room. HR was in the room, the administrator was in the room, all the management team, and I'm like, why everybody in my business? Salary is supposed to be discussed between you and HR. That's another red flag that I had when I started. So make sure that that's something you kept privately, because once people know what you're getting or what the agreement is, they treat you as such. So a salary is supposed to be between you and HR. That's it. Not between you, Sam, and Holly. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this video was super, super helpful. Managing and being a unit manager was even harder because your team. Every day was something going on with the operations. Then there's a lot of challenges with the computers not working, printers not printing, the pharmacy not bringing the meds on time. As y'all know, pharmacy is always slow. Pharmacy not bringing the meds on time. Things like that. Then you're getting admissions and all these discharges and making sure the paperwork is right and making lots of phone calls. And I mean, the med pass was extremely long because it's long-term care. You have a lot of patients. We have over 100 and something patients. Yes, we had over 100 something papers. There was a lot more stuff that happened behind the scenes that I don't want to talk about. But your girl survived it. I survived it. I gained some stuff out of it. And another thing, when you get into a management position, go through the files in the drawers in your office, because usually that last manager that was there would leave some type of clue to what you should be doing. So even if your team doesn't train you efficiently, because as they say, we don't have time to train you, just figure it out. At least you have something to look at to try to figure out what is the standard. You always want to know what's the standard for when you're doing certain things. You just don't want to do things because you feel it's right, because you're dealing with people's lives. So you always want to make sure you following through, you asking questions. There's nothing wrong with that. So I had 3 jobs for $90,000. Now, do y'all think I was being robbed or what? Now, to some people, that might be good. But when them taxes hit it, and when you're in that building for all those hours, I don't think you're going to agree much longer. But yeah, so that's what I was doing. Because again, God had me there for a reason. I did my thing. And then I was about to teach a CNA class as well. That was something else they wanted me to do. So I'm like, okay, now you ask me to come in on days that I'm not supposed to be here. So I'm okay with training and teaching, but then I'm not okay with being taken advantage of. And when they ask you, when you're administrating, your higher up asks you, well, what's wrong? We heard you're not happy. Be truthful. Be like, no, I'm not happy. I'm not happy because X, Y, and Z. There's nothing wrong with sharing those feelings. Now, if you try to hide those feelings and fake it, you're going to feel isolated, depressed. And like, if no one agrees with you, and you're going to feel really down and down. You know how you get down to that deep, dark hole? That's where you're going to go, because you're trying to hide your true feelings. It's going to show in your work when you're not happy. You're not, your attitude going to come and you're not even going to care. One manager that was mean to me, for some reason, every time I had a meeting, she would roll high, silly little comments while I'm talking. The same one I impressed, and mind you, these people older, like 50-something years old. I talked to her to the side, like, hey, what's your problem? Because every day I would bring this girl some breakfast. God would leave me on my heart, and I'd bring her some coffee and some breakfast every morning, because I knew she was managing the other side, long-term care side, which is a bigger side, by herself, and new with no training. And I'm like, let me bring this girl some breakfast, because I know she's probably on the floor. Let me make sure she at least eat. Thinking about her. And she treated me like, as soon as a new administrator came, she was kissing butt, and they was picking sides and leave me out to dry. I was like, that's okay. And now I get a text from her not too long ago. She's like, hey, I missed you. Where you been? It's Kid. Who's this? Is this the same one? Well, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fabulous. And you notice when God tell you to step down from somewhere, you gain so much. As soon as you step down, you gain the blessing of something to happen in your life. So don't hold on to the little when God has so much more. Maybe he got another thing for me to do big in management that I was holding on to little. So hope this video was super inspiring for those who want to go into this management. It's not for everybody. Being a manager, you definitely have to be able to take accountability and responsibility for things that happen. You are the target when family members are upset, when employees are upset because their pay is cut short, or there's a change in policies, or something is going on. You are the target, so be ready to take those hits. You got to have tough skin to be able to deal with all those things, plus retaining your staff, plus just keeping your sanity, and plus doing your job, your 50 jobs on top of that. So if you can do all that, then good luck out there managing. There's some people that's really good at it, and there's some people that ain't really good at it. It's not for everybody. Or maybe the setting is not for you. Maybe you need to find something like a bigger organization that got their stuff together. Not no small place, okay? So I hope this was super helpful, y'all. I will talk to you on the next one.